gentlemen, welcome to this month's meeting of Support Services. Glad everybody's here.
Good morning.
This is going to be a short meeting, so I brought in some pastry for everybody to enjoy, so you'll be able to enjoy that before the next meeting. I'll start with a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes. Motion made by Supervisor McGowan, second by Supervisor Hyde. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have two items on the agenda, one by IT, Mike Colvin, and second one by Mayor Kassane from the Attorney's Office. We'll start with Mike. Mike, if you would present your, actually what's on the agenda plus what we had talked about as part of the water and soil and water in that conversation.
Morning. The first one, kind of my boring one, you requested a transfer of funds from the computer reserve funds to the various departments to make expenses that were budgeted. $42,000 total, which is a painful number, but it was already in the budget, so we're not looking for any use of money that's already been sitting there for a couple of years waiting for the time to purchase.
A motion made by Supervisor Leggett, second by Supervisor Wild. Discussion? Another example of good forward planning. Yes, Supervisor Leggett.
That's right. Remind me how we appropriate each year to add to that reserve fund, correct?
Right. So I kind of did like my best guess of a 20-year budget I went out of where the high years are and the low years are, come up with an average number, so it's easier for budgeting for the county to put that static number aside. And so when we get to these expensive years, we've already been putting it aside little by little. And then actually, if anybody looks at my budget for 20 years, I'm negative at the other end, forcing me to find ways to pay for stuff without asking for more money than we really need.
Supervisor McGowan.
On the car laptops and scanners, what do car laptops? What do we do with those?
What do we do with the old ones, or?
No. I mean, the car laptops. I mean, do you upgrade them every so many years, or?
Yeah, we try to keep up to a certain point when they've reached the end of life for usefulness. Like right now, the Windows, they still have some old version of Windows on there. It's not supported anymore.
What's that?
But it still works with the current software, but now the software's updating, and so the ones we've got now are probably 6-7 years old. And we've been doing them in batches each year because they're expensive.
All right, because I noticed a lot of the, like the home health care and that, a lot of them use the iPhones now.
Yeah, actually they have a tablet that we just got that we're just purchasing now. They have to be specific to the vendor software.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Sheriff's Patrol, in the different environment, they have car mounts. And we keep a laptop that matches the car mounts because the car mounts cost as much as the laptop does. So to switch the laptop to sometimes something cheaper, which we've looked at before, it costs us double. So it actually ends up not being cheaper in the long run. So we found a model that's not the cheapest one, not the most expensive, right in the middle, that matches their mounting hardware, so we haven't got to keep buying hardware to put it in there.
Well, thanks for that. And also the scanners. What do we use scanners for?
So when you get pulled over, when somebody gets pulled over, instead of having to key in, they scan the barcode on your license that pops it all in there. That's what that scanner's for.
All right, so is most of this car laptops and the scanners and PCs, was that for the sheriff's?
Yeah, it's the sheriff's department, yep.
And that is not in their budget?
No, we've done, all the computers were supposed to come out of the computer reserve fund. So that goes into like a general pot, and I transfer it to the appropriate department, so they make the purchase at the time, so it shows up as an expense in their department.
All right, well, thanks. I just, like I said, I wasn't familiarizing myself how everything shuffles, so thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The next part is Mr. Colvin asked a question regarding soil and water. As you can see on the question, can we provide a web presence on the county website? And I wanted this to be included here because there are a lot of organizations and agencies which are connected to various degrees with the county, and I don't think I'm alone in being able to keep track of how they're connected. We know how the Sheriff Department is connected, we know how Social Services is connected, but agencies such as Soil and Water or Lake George Park Commission or any of these agencies. So I thought it would be a good opportunity just to, and maybe this is self-explanatory. Do you have any questions about this? I think Ryan did make a comment, so if I could impose on you, Ryan, to restate your comment regarding whether we could provide a presence.
Of course. My thought on whether we could help the Soil and Water District with their website. It was expressed to our IT director that they might be able to save a little money if the county could help with that. So my concern would be, does it cost us money, first of all, to do it? That's something that'll need to be part of the calculation. Does it cost us a lot of staff time to put that together and to monitor it? Does it open us up to any kind of cyber concern, cybersecurity concern? So that would be the analysis that I'd be looking for from IT, and assuming that those impacts were negligible or non-existent, then from an administrative perspective, I'd certainly be okay with us doing that to alleviate some costs for soil and water. We do fund soil and water. I think $330,000. We provide the majority of their funding, so savings for them would certainly be a positive for us.
Mike, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, for the hosting of the website wouldn't cost us anything because we already are doing it, and the pages are simple, so it's like a real small amount of time once it's up there, and very little time to maintain it afterwards. Those parts are real small. As far as like a security point, they're just informational pages, so there's no real risk there at all.
Thank you. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you. This is a little bit random, but this weekend, because of the Arbor Day thing, myself, Warren County Soil and Water Treatment, I'm going to ask if they are a department of the county, and I did not know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll read it off if you'd like. They're a non-regulatory county-based organization, so essentially there's a state law that governs the creation of these districts. They exist not just in this county but in other counties as well. It's a supported organization. They're a component unit on our financial statements. The staff, they have about a half a dozen staff who have access to our health insurance. But in terms of the day-to-day supervision of the staff, it's not something that falls under County Human Resources. They have their own rules. They do their own supervision. And as I said, the bulk of their financing does come from the county. They're sort of like a contractor with stronger links to the county than a typical contractor would have. In addition to the county funding, they have funding for municipal agreements. They have state aid. They have access to grants. So if you look at their annual report for last year, their overall operating expenses were $495,000, and $324 of that came directly from the county.
Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. As I mentioned before with other organizations, this is another outside organization that has access to our healthcare system. And as us being self-funded, that could be a considerable amount of cost to the county going forward. I know we do this with the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board. Here's another organization that's hooked to our medical benefits. And I just want to bring up a concern to say, how are we tracking and how are we managing this? If there's an outside organization, maybe we should suggest they go to other means to get their health insurance, because it could mean 6 figures, maybe even 7 figures. If someone, heaven forbid, have an accident, us being self-insured means it's $1 million hit to the county.
One comment on that: it is going forward, but it's not something new. It's been budgeted over the past many years. The only thing that's new is now that we have the explanation in front of us, but that hasn't changed the actual construct of the arrangement. But good point. In any of these agencies, to be aware of it and track it is a good point. Supervisor Thomas.
Soil water districts are created by statute by New York State. Each county elects to create a district. And they're controlled by a board of directors, of which the county selects each director and 2 supervisors, myself and Mr. Williams, on that. For the health insurance. They're a quasi-county agency.
So we're not concerned about, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we're not
going to come back to you anyway, so go ahead.
So we're really not concerned about the healthcare exposure that we have with this this organization and other organizations like them?
I guess you are.
I guess I am.
No more concerned than I am about the county employees.
Well, that's an assumed risk, right? But this is an outside organization. And maybe it's not this organization itself that I'm concerned about. The Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board is one that I'm definitely concerned about more so than this. But I'm wondering how many others there are like this.
Okay, Supervisor McGowan.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I have to agree with Supervisor Wild here that, you know, it is a little concerning. Like I said, it could be, you never know. And how many other organizations, like I said, are tied in. I do agree with you on this. I don't know what we can do, you know, differently, you know, about them, you know, contributing toward you know, health insurance. This is something to look into.
Supervisor Leggett and then
Okay. They do make contributions like all the other employees at the county. What this highlights is the state of our healthcare system in the country, where you have a small organization like the Soil Water Conservation District and it's 6 employees. And where do you go for affordable health care? And by bringing them under our umbrella, it helps them to be able to be economical and service and do what they are able to do. They are by statute part of the county system altogether. It's unfortunate that our towns cannot all band together and have a better pool, or I guess there's things out there now that we can do this, but this just highlights a much bigger problem about health care in our country, much less our county.
right?
Yeah, I was going to say we can certainly take a look at this. We can come up with all of the employees, active and retired, that fall under this category of not being direct county employees. We can take a look at that universe, how large it is, how much these individuals are contributing to their health insurance, because that is the other side. If these are healthy individuals, it's helping us spread our risk and cover the costs that we have for our unhealthy individuals. So it could, just as well as it's a risk, it could also be a helpful thing. But we'll take a look at it. That'd be a good first step, and then you know, there may be contracts that we have in place that provide this insurance. So it'll be something that requires a little bit of examination. We can do that.
Okay, Supervisor Molino.
Well, my opinion of this is we go soil and water, all the towns get soil and water, their taxpayers pay for their health insurance. Like all of us sitting around here, how many of us get county health insurance? And we've been on in 2 years. So you can't go after all these little groups and say, well, they're paying them. But you can't start meeting. I'm not worried about Lake George, that's out of our realm. This is something that works for the county. And all the supervisors here, I don't know how many are on, I'm not on the county health insurance that I get from my family. But I can be honest, and if I quit, I do an election for 2 years, paid me up for a couple of years, just to keep me. You can't go looking at all these little groups. We lose soil and water, you take away health insurance from them, you're going to lose the people, and that's the whole department from this year, and that's what's over to something else. This is my
Supervisor Simpson.
I was just going to say, I think the services they provide to not only the towns, the counties, and all the residents as a resource, in that structure where they're not private, for-profit business, I think it's far out. I think if you did an analysis, this is probably the most economical way for county residents to have this resource. They deal with all sorts of environmental issues on behalf of the towns, and they even extend their services to residents that have problems with water, erosion, protect everybody's interest. So I think if we did an analysis, we would find this is the better structure, and that's probably why it's set up that way, so that it is affiliated with either the state or the town.
Supervisor Garrity.
I agree with Ryan. We'll go through the health insurance carrier and see the way to segregate or how we work this under the new program we have. You know, if somebody has a catastrophic illness, is there a way to segregate it out of our premiums? I don't know. We certainly can go to our health insurance people and ask them what to do with this.
Supervisor McGowan.
Yeah, I have to say, Matt, I've been trying to raise my hand. We've been going around the room.
You have successfully, but... you
I know. You're doing a great job there, Chairman. But I do want to say, because I do sit on the Queensbury Planning Board, and I have sat in on a lot of the soil and water conservation, and they are a huge part of our, our town, more so, I think, than the planning board that I'm more concerned about. But Supervisor Simpson's, definitely correct. The amount of resource, I'm just thinking in the sense of, if there's a large, what Supervisor Garrity is saying, just looking into it just to see if there's an option. But I don't want to lose any form of the conservation, because I think it's very important to our county and our surrounding towns and villages.
Supervisor Wild?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just in closure, I'd really like to request that maybe our new administrator, Ryan, can help us with a listing of all the different outside organizations that are part of that. And, we can make a determination. I don't want to single out soil and water. The regional planning board that's so much in front of everyone's mind is probably the first one that spawned this from me. But I'd really like to take a look at the rest of them to see if we can make a value judgment on those individual organizations. Thank you.
In life, not just in county, people like to often stay below the radar, and if they come above the radar level, you wonder why. In this case, it was just a question of, should we help them out on the website? Is that a valid connection? Now, what Supervisor Wild brings up is a point of just increasing our understanding, since we're the decision makers. Asking that's a fair question, and there are a lot of agencies, and the more we understand of how they're connected, the better we're able to make our decisions. And we're not picking on soil and water, but it's a good way to get into, open the whole conversation about how all these agencies are connected and how can we optimize the service to our community. Any other comments on this issue? Okay, Supervisor Thomas.
Well, we meet once a month. 1 day a month. 1 o'clock. I'm here to visit. If you're interested, show up.
Okay. Supervisor...
I like the fact that you do participate, Frank, and you do know you're on the committee for the Lake Shore Regional Planning Board. We don't even know who the hell's on and who's not. I think that's finally getting solved. That's an active committee. I appreciate that. That you participate in the monthly meeting, and you know that.
Okay, no further discussion here with Supervisor Leggett's comment?
You all should have gotten one of these this morning, their annual report. Soil and water.
Did everybody hear that? An annual report for the soil and water is available. I guess everybody had one in their mail, looking at the packet that Supervisor Wild has in his hand. Okay, with no further discussion, thank you, Mr. Colvin.
I guess I'm just looking for guidance if we should tell them yes or no, as far as hosting a
What's the pleasure of the committee? I don't think we need a resolution, but...
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Go forward.
Go forward, please. Thank you. And Mr. Moore, thanks for that discussion.
Of course.
Now we'll...
Get that information for you as well.
Thank you, Ryan.
Same?
Okay, so my first request is to ratify a contract between Able Process Servers. We filed, I don't know if you all know this, but our office does all the juvenile delinquencies and PINs in family court. Last week we filed a motion in family court on Thursday. We were given a court date for that Monday by the court at 3:10 on Friday afternoon. They wanted us to serve the respondent by Saturday at 4 p.m. We have agreements with Washington County and Saratoga County Sheriff's Department they serve for free for us. But at that point on Friday, their civil service department had gone home, so we had to hire a private server to serve those papers for us and be in compliance with the court order. So I just need the committee to ratify the expense of that service.
We need a motion in that regard? How are we going to word that motion?
It's to ratify a contract between Warren County and Able Process Servers.
Okay, can I have a motion, please? Motion made by Supervisor... Second by... Sokol. Oh, my God. I'm doing pretty good so far today. Supervisor Sokol made the motion, second by Supervisor Leggett. Discussion. Sorry, Matt.
The money, Mary, is it coming out of your budget or?
Yep, my budget.
Supervisor Wild.
How much was it, Mary?
For this time, it was, I believe, $200. It was a weekend service and an emergency.
Supervisor Wild.
So the question is this to go forward for after hours? So is there a top level, not to exceed number here somewhere?
So this will be a contract going forward if we ever need to use them again. I hope that we don't. But the not to exceed, well, so if you look on page number 3, it's the first page of the contract. And right under 1, it gives you the price of each different scenario.
Further discussion? Questions? All in question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'm actually going to skip to number 3 first because that one's easier. So we had Tom Clements does some of the private pay collection work for Westmount. He has requested that 2 of the outstanding debts should be written off. For the first person, they died. They don't have an estate. They don't have any property records in Warren County. And the person who signed the responsible party agreement has also died. So there's no one they can collect the money from. That one would be $2,000 to write off. The second one, same scenario. Basically, the person is deceased. They don't have an estate, and they don't have any property in Warren County either. They were admitted without a responsible party agreement, so there's also no one that they can look for to get the money for that one. And that would be $21,350.
We need a motion to this effect?
We do.
Motion by Supervisor Wild. Do I have a second? Supervisor Leggett. It's like an auction. You just raise your finger. Barely notice what's happening. Any discussion, please? Supervisor McGowan.
Why does property have to be in Warren County?
Warren, Washington, or Saratoga they look for. Probably because the cost-benefit analysis of going elsewhere to get property would be more than the debt.
$21,000. It's a lot of money. $2,000 I can understand, but $21,000. Question.
Any other questions? Supervisor Leggett.
How is the progress coming on this?
On the private pay, because there's both. So currently there are 2 different law firms hired to collect the private pay. Tom Clements has been working really hard. He seems to be making progress on a lot of the big debt. The other firm is, I'm not sure how they're coming yet. They're supposed to be sending us a status letter relatively soon. And then with the Medicaid, we have hired someone who used to work for the state who is looking into whether or not we can even rebill all those old claims.
That was on treasurers. We're talking about those.
Treasurer.
Mr.
Chairman, just as an update, Tom Clements has had me appointed as the administrator for these estates that we're working on to try to collect sizable amounts of money, and we're in the process now of trying to find the money. That's where that goes. That is, so it is progressing. We're working on it. I've had to, because he is the attorney that had me appointed, I've had to hire another attorney to represent the state, but we're working on it, so it's coming. And there's a couple of them, $200,000. They're sizable amounts of money that they're attracting.
Any other comments? Supervisor Garrity.
Find out a little bit better, Mike, what goes on?
What
happens now?
Well, I'm not sure whether that's something that we can talk about, like this. I mean, I can sit down and talk to it. I don't know, because there's litigation involved and stuff, I'm not sure whether we can talk about
So
it.
that's not on these two you're talking about, this other one?
There's 4 of them that we're working on.
But not these two?
Not those 2, no.
Yeah, okay.
Supervisor Beatty.
Thank you, Chairman. So what I always get confused about is how did they get to 200,000? How did they get to a number like that for an individual before we start saying, hey, we gotta find a mechanism to collect this? And I don't know if that's a question to you, Director, but I'm just, it seems like some of these are really big numbers. I'm just wondering, when do we decide to actually, well, we better kind of see if we can collect this money, or should that process be started a lot sooner? I don't know that answer.
Well, I don't have an answer as to why it wasn't done sooner in the past. I do know that now social services, at the time that they have, because what it usually is somebody's in the nursing home, okay, and they go in and they don't have funds, so DSS comes up with the money to pay for them to be there, and then when they are deceased, then we try to collect the money. Now, I know now, it's within 4 or 5 months of somebody passing away, I'll get the information from DSS to start trying to process the estate, go after, houses, bank accounts, or anything like that. So there isn't the time lag that there used to be. I can't answer why it wasn't done in the past, why it wasn't done sooner. But we are within probably 4 or 5 months of when somebody passes away. We're at.
Supervisor Leggett.
Yeah, if I can ask the treasurer, on the report that Rob Lynch sent through, there's $552,000 in Medicaid claims.
Right.
But I don't see a number for
I'm not sure what that is. I can't remember the figure off the top of my head. At one point, it was quite substantial. And I'd hate to just throw something out there.
Any other questions, discussions? I made a statement, observation about 6 years ago or so that probably this relates to everybody. All our lives was taught, how do we protect our money from the government? How do we, on our estates? And financial advisors across the board, we've probably been to their seminars. How do you protect your money from going to Medicaid? So that when you go to a nursing home, the county can't take your money. And now I find myself on the other side of the table. I am the county. We are the county. And we're going after this money. So that's the way life is, but I find myself being on both sides of the table, and it's interesting. We need a motion in that regard. We've had a discussion. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion, none. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carried.
The last resolution, we reached out to a firm that specializes in railroad issues. So my last request is to enter into a contract with Nixon Peabody for legal counsel regarding the railroad. My suggestion is, I felt like I had to bring it through this committee because it's coming out of my budget and this is my committee, but my suggestion would be to refer this to Public Works tomorrow to discuss as well.
do we need a motion to that, or?
Yes.
Okay. The motion is regarding hiring a special counsel, or how do we describe it?
Sure, to hire special counsel for railroad issues.
And refer that to the Public Works Committee scheduled for May 1st. Motion made by Supervisor Wild, second by Sokol. Discussion? All in favor? Supervisor Leggett.
So, Mary, you have it listed that it's coming out of your budget code here, and you have the money in that budget code for that.
I do.
Other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. There you go.
That's it. Thank you.
Anything else by anybody to come before the Support Committee? Support Services Committee? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Supervisor Sokol, second by Supervisor Leggett. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, folks.